Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, word to my brethren from the great country, Ireland. Shouts out to my brethren in Ireland. All right, Seamus Coleman and all them boys. Shout out to Everton Football Club while you're at it too. But wanted to make this video about Andy Lee. If you guys haven't heard already, Andy Lee hasn't fought since March 18th of last year. Andy Lee, former WBO middleweight champion, long, lanky, rangy puncher, knock your lights out, has retired from the sport of boxing. Now, Andy Lee, he leaves the sport on, what I think a good legacy, man. Andy Lee was an exciting fighter. He finishes his career with 35 wins, 3 losses, a draw, and 24 KOs. Now, when you talk to me about Andy Lee, there's always one fight that I'm gonna remember him for, and that fight is definitely the fight between him and the very, very highly touted at the time Matt Korobov. Now, for those of you who don't realize this, Matt Korobov, was dangerous fighter, dangerous fighter. A lot of guys didn't want to fight Matt Korobov. He was used. Peter Quillen ducked him. A lot of guys ducked and avoided him. This is a guy that not a lot of people were rushing to fight, and he was also someone that was an Olympian. He beat the likes of Jared Fletcher, Ismail Salah. And he was a good boxer, but Andy Lee fought this guy. He went in there as an underdog. Korobov was on his way to stardom, and Korobov was on his way to GGG fights and being the next big thing in boxing. And it just showed you, Andy Lee showed us on that night, which happened to be the date of that fight was December 13th, 2014, almost 4 years ago. He showed us on that night that why boxing is so great, because you had this guy in Korobov who was being touted as the next big thing in boxing. I believe he outweighed Andy Lee by about a good 20 to 25 pounds. And if my memory serves me correctly, he was winning that fight for the most part. And Andy Lee caught him flush, literally, with a punch in the 6th round. And that was all she wrote. And it was that fight that made Andy Lee a champion. It was that fight that fulfilled his promise to Emanuel Steward, as Andy Lee was probably one of the last fighters to be trained by Emanuel Steward. It fulfilled Andy Lee fulfilled his potential on the night and became world champion by beating a guy like Korobov in the fashion he did. And Korobov's career has been the same since. And that's what it is. He would then go on to fight the likes of Peter Quillen to a split decision draw, which I thought he won. But that fight was interesting. That was a good fight. One of the first PBC fights, actually. And then he fought Billy Joe Saunders, defending that title. Got outboxed, the majority draw. Then he ended his career last year with his last fight against Keandre Leatherwood, with a unanimous decision victory. And he also had some good wins. This is a guy that he KO'd the likes of John Jackson. He was a decent fighter. Early in his career. When you talk to me about Andy Lee, when you talk to me about Andy Lee, I'm gonna think about a guy who, in my opinion, was an overachiever. He was a big puncher, had a lot of come from behind victories, but he took a loss early in his career to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Had to rebuild himself back up, got the win against John Jackson, and ultimately got the big fight against Matt Korobov. And it was the Matt Korobov fight, to me, which will be the signature fight of his career, the signature performance of his career, where he rose to the occasion on the night and then some, and upset what was a very dangerous and promising talent back then in Korobov. And Korobov has been quite the same since then, and that's just what it is. But, I'm going to say that as someone who watches boxing, I like Andy Lee a lot. I respect him a lot. I respect just what he brought to the sport. I think he had some of the best knockouts that we've seen in the sport over the last 10, 15 years. I think the Korobov knockout, and then he had another knockout. I can't remember who the guy who he fought was, but he fought one guy. The knockout was pretty sensational. So that's what it is. In regards to what Andy Lee had to say to his retirement, he said, I quote, "It's a good decision. It's a good moment to go out on my own terms and not be retired in the ring. A lot of fighters lose it that way, but it's my time now. It's the right time. I'm 33 years old. I have achieved everything I wanted to achieve in the game. I've had an amazing career and an amazing life through boxing. It has defined my life. It has defined who I am, but it's the right time to call it a day. It has been on my mind for a while. Over the last 2 years, I've kept myself available. I fought March of last year. I won that fight, and I just kept myself available to see what my options were. If a fight came along, that would entice me back. None of the fights and none of the offers were good enough or big enough for me to go back, and I have responsibilities now as a father. To leave my wife and daughter, it would take a big fight to get me to do that, to leave them to go away to training and put myself through all that. If I was single with no child, I probably would have been back in the gym straight away after the Billy Joe Saunders fight. But I took a decision to take some time off. We had the baby, so that's been the best thing, and that's my priority right now. End quote by Andy Lee. So with that being said, man, you can't have you can't have one foot in and one foot out of boxing. I think Andy Lee understands this truth about boxing, and that's why I think he's a true winner for knowing when to say when. So from me, Andy Lee, Brendan Taylor, True School Sports, Justin Kidd from Dania, I salute you in what was a fantastic career. Thank you for the exciting fights, and thank you for the exciting knockouts that you gave myself and all the other boxing fans. So shout out to you, Andy. God bless, and enjoy your time with your family because you've earned it, and we will never forget the warrior you were in the ring.